Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Glad to see you today. I'm going to give you the rundown on my 1986 Nissan 300ZX drift car. So how I acquired this car, it sat down the street from me for, I don't know, years. I saw it wasting away down there, and the shape of the car really caught my eye, so I started looking into Z cars and decided that that was something I wanted to be a part of. So I went down the street and knocked on the door. I said, you know, sir, I've noticed this car out here and I'm curious what you'd let it go for. And he says, well, what do you offer me? I said, how's $200 sound? And he said, honey, where's the title to that red car out there? So sure enough, we hooked it up, towed it down the street about 2 miles and parked it right here, began working on it. From what we could tell, the timing belt had snapped, so we took that all apart, replaced the timing belt and the timing gear. Within hours, it was fired up and running. So the first order of business after I discovered I had a strong, steady motor, I said, weight reduction, let's charge. I started stripping everything out. I mean, everything. It all went. I started cutting cables with the motor running, and if it stayed running, I kept cutting cables. So I've got no wiring except for the fuel pump in the rear of the car, which in hindsight might have been a mistake. Probably should have left some brake lights. But who needs those in a race car? Went on from there to clean the car because it was in pretty bad shape after sitting for so long. We cleaned it all out and really started going through it. Put in some of these really top quality Amazon seats. I think I got the pair for $260. I cut the brackets off of the stock seats to fab up and weld some seat brackets for these, because if you're a Z31 guy like me, you know that stuff's hard to find, and if you do find it, it's cost a pretty penny. So we're on a budget around here. We do shit the cheap way. Moving on to the interior of the car, I did a more drift spec steering wheel. This is a RS type, also off Amazon. I think I paid $32 for it, something in that range. Used a steering wheel hub adapter from an S13. It's the same specs. Worked out great. Didn't have any problems. I was also a cheapie. I think I paid somewhere around $8 for that adapter. After I pulled the stock dash out, it was looking a little sketchy with just all the bare bones stuff. So I went ahead and made a custom dash out of some plywood lap siding off one of my job sites, and I feel like it turned out great. Got a temperature gauge and the tack, all I found necessary. GoPro mount, gotta have that. I maintained the windshield wipers in here because you never know when it's going to start raining on a track day and you want to be able to keep going. LED light switch right here. I also took a breaker bar I broke during the course of working on the front because this thing was quite a rusty mess. Ended up snapping that, so I'll put it back to work and welded it in here as a secondary e-brake handle, and it works great. Up in the front of the car, I knew that I wanted to keep the engine pretty much stock just for reliability reasons. You can't get any seat time if you're in the garage fixing the thing the whole time, and it ran. I didn't want to mess with it. All I did was cut in the air cleaner into the headlight bucket to get some nice cool fresh air coming all the time. Got these LED spotlights off eBay. I think I paid $24 for the set. Great deal, and they really light up the road. I'm just blown away by how good they look on the car and how good they look driving down the road. Little things I did inside the engine bay just to help ensure my reliability. When I got the car, it didn't have the shroud on it, and I knew that for a cooling system that's pretty important to be sucking air through there. Found the factory shroud at a pick and pull, got that in there. I also did the Champion 3-row radiator and mounted it in such a way that I could maintain the factory shroud. Did a new radiator cap, did the plugs and wires because they were in pretty bad shape. Replaced my fuel filter with K&Ns, air filter with K&Ns, and went with the Valvoline VR1 racing oil, and seems to do great. Other things I did as I was working around here in the engine, taking air boots off. You know how brittle that rubber can get after years of sitting, so I ended up ripping that boot and had trouble finding a real replacement, so I went down to Lowe's and found a plumbing fitting that would solve the job for me for $6 out the door. We're rocking and rolling again. Now that we've gone through everything there, I'm going to move on to some of the big money I did on this car. I went with the Power Tricks Road and Track coilovers. I picked those up on a Black Friday deal for just over $1,000, which was a great deal, and they've been excellent so far. Suspension wise, to complement the Power Tricks coilovers, I went ahead and did the full polyurethane bushing kit and tightened everything up. Did some 17x9 AV 106 Avid 1 wheels, some TE37 knockoffs. Liked the style of that wheel. I went with Hankook Ventus V12 Evos on the front for my first event. Figured they'd be a good enough tire to get me going, and really wouldn't break the bank either. They performed great. I had excellent grip up front, and I'd recommend those and probably will use them again. Along with the polyurethane bushings, I cut and welded the steering knuckles to allow for a little quicker ratio and a little more steering angle going around those turns. Around to the back of the car, I did full poly bushings throughout the whole rear. Did steel braided brake lines throughout the car. Welded the differential. That's a really important thing. If you're going out your first time drifting and you don't have a welding or a limited slip differential, you're gonna have a hard time. So do yourself that favor, weld your differential, learn how to drift the right way. The 2.5-inch cat back exhaust was on the car when I got it, scored there, and then I also decided to go ahead and make some custom bash bars. Since I lowered it so much on those coilovers, I couldn't get my jack under there anymore, so I went ahead and incorporated a jack point back here just to make life easy. Got about $30 into that and did all the welding myself. I'm not a great welder, but hey, the more of it I do, the better I get. The car was red when I got it, and I've never been a red car guy, so picked up my best friend Rust-Oleum and we did a nice flat white paint job on the whole car. I think it turned out great for what I'm wanting to do with the car. Went ahead and used some chalkboard paint on the sides, so you can write your numbers at any event, write whatever you want, have a little fun with it. These rear quarter windows, I replaced them with plexiglass and just painted over them, take out some weight in the rear. For the rears of the car on this first event, I went with a Hankook Ventus V2 concept tire. Try those out. They were $230 for a set of 4, so I figured that was a good deal. I'd give them a shot. The tires actually performed great, had decent grip, and they wore down a little fast. Maybe I'll try something different on the next event, but for a low-cost option, they performed well. These were some Regals I picked up from Aztec Auto Salvage and mounted them on actually 2001 Ford Ranger wheels. Work really cherry on here, and believe it or not, they're a little lighter than the stock wheels coming in, and these are a 16. So wrapping it up here, as she sits now, I've got about $3,000 into the car to make that first drift event, and that was including tires. on that first drift event. So I think we did pretty good to hit the track under 3 grand. Any questions you might have on my build or stuff to help you out with yours? I'm not a professional, I'm just another average guy having fun, enjoying while I'm doing it. If you've got questions on anything I've done, comment below and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Thanks for watching.